There's a cynical feeling saying I should give up. You said everything you'll ever say. There's a moment of panic when I hear the phone ring. Anxiety's calling in my head. Is it back again? Are you back again?
Hello. We are here on a Saturday afternoon with everything going on tonight. So much sports stuff tonight. We are going to get our NFL betting show out of the way now. You can lock in those winning bets and enjoy the rest of the night. With me right now is Henry. How's it going?
Doing well, Zach. Happy to be here. Happy to talk some football, as always.
As always, it should be a good time. Just a couple Frank Gore lovers on right now until Jake will be joining us shortly. We think he's on a phone call, and then we will be as tech savvy as we can and get him into here. But right now, if you're watching on Twitter, awesome. If you're watching on YouTube, though, subscribe. If you're watching on Twitter, go over to the FlurrySports YouTube. You can participate in the chat over there. We will be asking, or we'll be answering all your questions over there. Obviously, hit that notification if you want to be notified for any live streams, any videos, anything like that we do over there from here on out. This betting stream brought to you by Monkey Knife Fight. You can see the promo code over there. Cool. Look at me. I did that the right direction. Monkey Knife Fight DFS site, but it's unlike a lot of the other mainstream DFS sites. You're not worrying about salary caps. You're not worrying about trying to figure out which players to put in, trying to worry about who you're competing against. You're competing against yourself, Henry. You're the only one you're competing with. It's just props, just a bunch of prop contests. It kind of ties in with this betting show here. But prop contests, like a big prop parlay, maybe you think Frank Gore is going to score 5 touchdowns. I do. Every time he steps on the field, I think it's a touchdown. But they have prop contests.
Maybe 6. Maybe 6.
Hey, it's within the realm of possibility. But they have a contest where you pick 3 players that have to score either over 1.5 touchdowns, over 2.5, or over 3.5. You plug in Frank Gore and you can just close your eyes and pick the other 2. Probably, it just doesn't really matter. I mean, you already locked in your winner right there. But they have a million other things. Every game, every sport. Go over to monkeyknifefight.com. Use the promo code Flurry to get a 100% deposit match up to $50, plus a free $5 contest. Like I said, just find anything with Frank Gore, put that free $5 on there. You'll probably multiply your money pretty quickly in his homecoming game this weekend. We'll talk about that game a little bit later, but let's start with the competitive NFC East, the one that everyone wants to watch this weekend, the Washington football team at the New York Giants. Pretty much, they should rename it to Bloody MetLife Stadium at this point. Someone heard every week. We'll see who it is this week. I hope Alex Smith stays off the field by all means. Right now, looking at Odds Shopper, Washington is the 3-point underdog at BetMGM and FanDuel. Those are where you'll get those best lines. -2.5 for the Giants at Sugar House and DraftKings, though. Looking at game total, over 43 at Sugar House, PointsBet and DraftKings, under 43.5 at BetMGM, FanDuel, and yeah, that's it. This is a weird game. Obviously, both teams aren't very good. Giants, you and I talked about last week how they are underrated defensively. They also had that big defensive injury. What do you make of this game? Because it looks like clearly the best unit overall in this game is Washington's defense, but it's tough to trust them to score any points. So are you playing this game, or are you kind of forgetting about it?
Well, I'm making this game appointment viewing in the 1 o'clock window. I can tell you that. I'm so excited to see these two
Can't wait.
dynastic defensive lines go at it here and just totally wreak havoc. Uh, to that end, though, it's not surprising to see the total kind of drop here throughout the week. It opened 44.5 down to 42.5. And to be quite frank, I could still see it going under that number. I think you're playing with fire to back it over here for sure. The spread, I have 3.5 an opening line out in Las Vegas, and it's threes across the board, a couple 2.5s. If I'm playing it, I think it's got to be the Giants for me. I really hate saying that because I could see Chase Young, Montez Sweat, that the Washington defensive front just like making Daniel Jones turn the ball over like 6 times in this game, and that bet would go up in smoke. I really think it is going to come down to turnovers and which team is kind of able to capitalize on a few short fields, make a few defensive plays. This might be a game even where you see a defensive score total so low. I don't know if it's even worth taking an under on anymore. I really don't have anything strong on a side, though. I guess I would lean New York. It just feels like a game the Giants have to win, bouncing back from last week. You got anything a little more firm, I guess, here?
The only thing firm, if you bet at a sports book that you can bet on turnovers, I would probably bet the over simply because Daniel Jones is in this game. But besides that,
100%.
if I had a lean, I'd probably go Washington just because I don't believe in Daniel Jones. We've talked, maybe this was last week, but you worry about quarterbacks turning it over through throwing interceptions. Daniel Jones, 18 fumbles last year, led the league. This year, 4 fumbles, 1 in each of his past 4 games. So let's keep that trend going, I guess. He's also thrown 5 interceptions this year. So
I'll pick a game, no biggie.
yeah, 2, 1, 1, 1, and then last week against Dallas, that terrible defense, they didn't intercept the ball. But he seems like a lock to turn the ball over at least twice. He keeps getting hit. That offensive line for the Giants clearly is not very good. I think Kyle Allen is good enough to score. And that's not a strong opinion, but I think this game kind of comes down to him. I don't anticipate either offense lighting it up. Rivera's smart enough to know let's simplify this game plan and try to make sure Kyle Allen doesn't make mistakes, I guess. And if he makes less mistakes than Daniel Jones, maybe they pull out the low-scoring victory. I don't know. It's not a game I would love to bet. If I did anything, maybe I would tease up the total and bet the under. But that's about it, I think.
That's a good call. I like that call.
Yeah, is there anything else you say about this game, though?
I mean, from a fantasy football standpoint, I guess both teams could arguably be 2 of the top defensive streamers of the week, and I would definitely side with Washington there over the Giants just because of Daniel turnovers back there. But yeah, it's going to be a defensive slugfest. I think that's for sure. I think one of the funniest media moments I heard or saw of the week was John Murray on the Kelly and Murray podcast legitimately was seriously asking, he's like, I'm going to be working obviously during the games, but he's like, there are people that are off from work and they're going to decide to spend their time watching this game. And I was just howling. It's going to be an ugly one for sure.
Yeah, it's just a gross game. Like, it's the first one on the list that I see here, and it just makes me sad. I'm like, ugh, can't we put that at least at the bottom of these early games? I don't want to see this at all. But I guess.
And yet, neither team is out of the running in that division.
Definitely
like this game is important for both.
It makes my heart hurt. I mean, this is such a bad division. It's mind-blowing. Last year, it was bad. This year, honestly, 6 wins could win you the division.
6 wins. You're going that low.
It could. I don't think it'll be that. I think it'll be 7. But 6.
I think so too.
I think 6 definitely could though, especially if it's one of those teams with like the Eagles have a tie. So it could be like 5-10-1 winning the division. Oh, man. Let's get off this game. Let's go to Chicago versus Carolina. Right now, this line, let me know what the line movement was. I think there was quite a bit of movement, though. Chicago right now, +1.5 at FanDuel. Carolina -1 pretty much everywhere else. The over-under is ending 44.5. One of the lower ones of the week. Obviously, we know the tough Chicago defense. Carolina defense has been playing better, but they don't have K'Wan Short this week. They don't have Gross Matos. I don't know, man. I think this is a sneaky game to bet the over. I should look at the reffing crew here. I sent you that before. For some reason, I thought this was a significant one. Adrian Hill's crew is going to be calling it. Adrian Hill's called 11 holds the entire year in 4 games. So not very many holding calls from there. 11 pass interference calls. This will probably be a pretty low flag game. A lot of offense. Teddy two gloves, Teddy covers, whatever you want to say. Do you think he keeps it going in this one?
It's tough to bet against Teddy covers, but I think I'm going to do it here. And I was on the Panthers as a short dog last week against Atlanta. I really did not understand really why the Falcons were a favorite in that game, just with all the turmoil they have going on. I took Carolina money line, and that worked out just fine. And here you asked about the line movement. It looks like it opened 2.5, and you were exactly right. First we had a little dip, then we went up as high as 3. A couple of jagged lines going back and forth there in the middle of the week, and it's just kind of come down here. Looks like a big move would have been Thursday afternoon, coming down in the Bears' favor, and it's leveled off and dropped even further since. Let's see here. It looks like all 1.5s and 1s are on the Vegas market right now. Here's the thing for me about this game. The Bears' pass defense, that's the strength. Like, they can get after the pass rusher, and that secondary has played well. And I don't know that Carolina is built to just kind of pound the rock, if you know what I mean. And and if I had to take it back to do that, I think I would prefer Mike Davis trying to just run up the middle as opposed to Christian McCaffrey. But man, it's I don't like that from a matchup angle. And the Bears, they continue to get it done. Kind of the cardiac kids in a lot of these games, but they're pulling them out. Maybe a fraudulent 4-1, but they are 4-1, and there are a few other 4-1 teams that you could be like, well, maybe they should have another loss here and there as well. So I'm not really understanding all the Bears hate. I think that defense is legit. Let me just pull up here 6th against the pass, according to Football Outsiders, and they're 5th overall in adjusted efficiency. So I think it's going to be a tough day for Teddy Bridgewater and company. I'm not going to lie. DJ Moore is a sneaky fantasy disappointment big time for me this week. Everyone's kind of rah-rah after last week, and the targets share, and I don't think he had a catch in the second half.
He did not, because I had a prop bet on him, and all he needed was one fucking catch in the second half, and it didn't hit. It was a prop parlay. I would have had a nice payout. All other 7 bets hit, except for DJ Moore. I hate that guy. Can't stand him. But you're exactly right, and the same exact thinking as me. And the Bears' pass defense is good, not necessarily because of their secondary, but because of that front 7. They can apply pressure from all over. Looking at Teddy Bridgewater right now, under pressure this season, he has a 40.3 passer rating when under pressure, 52.9% completion rate. Under pressure, he's thrown 2 interceptions, no touchdowns. He's been sacked 8 times on 48 pressured dropbacks. So he hasn't been under pressure a ton, but when he is, it's not good. And I'm pretty confident in saying I think Chicago can get consistent pressure in this game. And if that's the case, I think they're done. I don't think they can pound the rock, like you said. I think Nick Foles can make enough plays downfield to move the chains. And I also think David Montgomery can run against Carolina. Carolina's run defense wasn't good before, and now they don't have Short. I think it should be a fairly easy day. I have this game as one of my teasers just for like a teaser parlay teasing the Bears line, but I'm fine taking their money line. I'm fine betting the over on this game. That's another one I like teasing down 5 points or something and betting the over because I feel super confident about that. But yeah, I don't know. I would love to hate on the Bears. As a Packer fan, I would love to do it, but I can't do it here.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think the Bears money line is very much in play here. I just wanted to give me 1 second if I can pull that pricing up. So I'm seeing just at my bookie right now, minus 110 to get a point, minus 105 money line. I mean, the value there to me is in the money line. I think man, I you could tease it for sure.
Mm-hmm.
At 1, you'd be going through 3 and you'd be hitting 7. So that is a very viable tease. There you go. We put together a teaser bet out of these first 2 games, one of which is very ugly. Tease
Yeah.
that football team Giants total up and tease the Bears up, and you're good to go.
Right. This week it looks bad at first, but there's some really obvious spots to attack, and I've been having a lot of success with teasing lines this season, especially with all, the chaos surrounding pretty much every single game. I think that's the way to target this year, to be completely honest. We can see where the money's coming in, and we can just sort of be smart about it. This next game is one I've heard a lot of mixed things from betting experts, I guess, around the industry this week. To me, it opened and this may have been the most confident I've been of any game. That's Detroit going to Jacksonville. This line, you can tell me, I don't think this line has really moved at all. Detroit is a 3-point favorite on the road in Jacksonville. Across the board is what I see in terms of game total, 54.5 across the board. So, I don't know. Do you see any movement for this game?
There has been movement.
Has there? Okay.
And I think this may have been one of the ones I talked about in my line movement article earlier this week. It opened 1.5, and it got as high as 3.5. And I think that was the line I was working with when I wrote that article. That was around Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday in there. And then it's just kind of leveled off at 3. So from, it looks like the 13th on, it has stayed steady to your point there. Out in Las Vegas, I don't know if that's a look ahead line or what, but it says the Lions open 2.5. So Jacksonville would have drawn the early money. That's interesting. I think I don't know how I can bet on Jacksonville right now. It's worked for me the last couple of weeks, and I'm inclined to roll with it again here. I think Detroit's coming out of a bye. They're a team that could easily have 3 wins at this point if they don't gag against the Bears. And the Packers game, I think that kind of got away from them, and we saw that coming just with the injuries and such. But against the Saints last week, that there's no excuse for them to lose that game. I know it is the Lions' MO here. I know the defense is poor. I don't trust Gardner Minshew and Jacksonville to take advantage of a poor defense here. I really don't. And I know DJ Chark is questionable was the last I saw. But even a less than 100% Chark, I don't see it happening. I think the Lions should be able to win this one pretty handily here. A must-win spot for them if they're going to do anything this season. And out of a bye week, I would roll the dice there for sure.
I'm willing to say that DJ Chark is out. I don't think he's practiced yet this week, and coming back from another injury, he's been injured pretty much the whole season. I don't see any way they play him. Desmond Trufant is out for Detroit for sure, but otherwise there's no other for sure injury situations. But yeah, coming off a bye, Detroit should be able to do absolutely anything they want in this game, in my opinion. The Jaguars give up the most yards per play in the league, 6.6. They are last in completion percentage allowed, which is 75.78, which is ridiculous. So 3 out of every 4 throws that Stafford just chucks, they're going to be completed. Yards per pass, they're last in the league at 8.7. I think Kenny Galladay, if you want to do props, I think Kenny Galladay could score 2 touchdowns. That probably has nice odds. I don't think there's anyone in the secondary for Jacksonville that can stop him. I think Adrian Peterson should have at least some kind of rushing success as well, which only opens things up for the passing game more. Detroit, bad defensively. That's the only scary thing here. Maybe it turns into a shootout. But I also think Jacksonville wants to run the ball in this game, and I don't think that's enough to keep up with Detroit. I'm willing to go 3, on Detroit, just pick the spread there. But the prop I really like in this game, and like you talked about how Detroit keeps blowing all these leads, I am fully fine with going Detroit minus 2.5 in the first half. I think that could be one of the easy bets of the week.
Oh, yeah. I like that a lot. Curious, you said, it could be a shootout. To me, it almost feels like a game that, I don't know. I don't know if I want to say uglier than you would think, but just not as many points. I'm wondering about that. So do you have a strong one way or the other on the total's 54 and a half I'm seeing, and that's not the highest of the week. And these are two defenses that are, but some of those Jacksonville offensive statistics you were mentioning, I don't know. I could see the Lions holding them down because those were not pretty numbers.
I don't have a strong lean on whether it goes over or under. It really probably comes down to turnovers for those, just because both quarterbacks can be a bit erratic and anything could happen when two terrible teams meet up. If it's a clean game, I would assume it goes over. If it's an ugly game, I guess I can look at the ref and crew here as well. But besides that, I don't really know. Sean Hockley is calling the game. Hockley's only done 3 games this season, averaging 4 holding calls per game, 2 pass interferences per game. So it sounds like he's going to hold the flag a bit, which is good for us here. This could be a fun game to stack for DFS, in all honesty. I don't know. But yeah,
all right.
my top bet in this game easily is that first half Lions line. What were you going to say?
Yeah, I like that call. I like that call a lot. So I've got over on Monkey Knife Fight.
Ooh, baby.
It is a more or less. We're picking yards here. We got Stafford over or under 287 and a half. Minshew over or under 285 and a half. And Galladay over or under, I think it's got to be an over, 75 and a half receiving yards.
I think I'd go over for both Lions and under for Minshew.
That's what I'm thinking too. But then I looked, like that was my initial lean on this prop, just looking at it, and I was like, oh, that seems very a very easy win of, let me get that for you, 6 times your buy-in if you pick all 3 correct on this Monkey Knife Fight prop. But then I went and looked a little more, and Minshew's gone over that passing yards total 3 out of 5 games, and he was close against Miami. And I don't know, for my money, the Titans and the Bengals are better defenses than Detroit.
Yeah,
it's close.
Those defenses are also better against the run, and they've made it pretty clear before last game that they want to get Robinson more involved with carrying the ball in the second half of games, to the detriment of the team last week a little bit. And very, very clearly, Detroit's run defense is their weakness. Not that their pass defense is anything special, but I'm pretty sure I could average 3 yards per carry at least against the Lions. Maybe you 3.5, a little bit more than me, but I think anyone could run against this Lions defense. They're not any good.
To that point, Detroit is 16th in adjusted efficiency defending the pass, 31st against the run.
There you go.
And I could see a scenario where, winning or losing, first half, second half, even for that matter, if the Lions are torching Jacksonville's defense like we think, running the football would just simply make sense from, and trying to keep it away from Matthew Stafford. So that would lend itself to a Gardner Minshew under 285 and a half as well.
Now, to play devil's advocate from pretty much everything we said, just because that's fun, What I've been hearing from a lot of insiders and experts, which makes me also lean against the Lions in the second half, is that temperature difference. It's supposed to be, I believe, mid 80s and humid down in Jacksonville or something. So maybe the Lions gas out a little bit. We've seen that be the situation pretty much every time the Patriots go to play Miami. That's why Miami's so good at covering against, anyone, but especially the Patriots at home. So maybe Jacksonville makes a run at it in the fourth quarter or something. Maybe you want to bet Jacksonville's spread in the fourth quarter. But still, I don't know. I just think this is a game the Lions can win. It's putting a lot of faith in a team that loves to lose one-score games, but still, I'm fine with it.
I think I am too. After all of that,
Yeah.
I'm not going to take the temperature and make it my
Right.
sway me on a bet. It could have a factor, but it's not going to sway a decision here when everything else seems to line up. And I think we're both agreeing the Lions are the side to go.
Yeah. This next one we have an AFC North. Cleveland Browns going to Pittsburgh. 3.5 underdogs are the Browns on the road. I have the over/under 50.5 at BetMGM and FanDuel, 51 at Sugar House and DraftKings. Two pretty major offensive injuries for the Steelers in this one. We have Deontay Johnson out, and then we have probably their best offensive lineman, David DeCastro, is out. I was a little nervous there'd be more than just him out, so to be completely honest, I'm happy it's only an interior lineman, especially with like Myles Garrett coming after Ben Roethlisberger, probably getting his shoulder all loose, just get this swing and motion going, trying to hit anyone he can with a helmet. I was initially really, really scared of this game to bet. It just felt like a game that Cleveland would get a bunch of pressure on Ben, and Ben would make a bunch of mistakes, and it would be, a one-score game in the fourth quarter. Anything could happen. Towards the end of the week, I've been leaning a little bit more towards Pittsburgh on the spread. But what's your thoughts on this game?
Well, I wish I could, broadcast the data plot of this spread line movement live right over the stream here, because it's jagged back and forth between 3 and 4 ever since it looks like would have been Tuesday, where it's just been going all over the place, kind of crazy here. And it's leveled off right in the middle at 3.5. It would be where we're at here now. Trickle down, though, from the opening 5.5 I have out in the Vegas numbers. So that would lean toward Cleveland taking some sharp action in this game for sure. I think I'm with you. I would rather go Pittsburgh here. They're home, and I know home field advantage is kind of wishy-washy right now, but these are two AFC North rivals, and there's a lot on the line in this game, given Cleveland's hot start here as well. So I think both teams are going to come to play. And you talked about DeCastro and Johnson being out for Pittsburgh. I think with Chase Claypool, I don't know that Ben Roethlisberger is that worried about losing Deontay Johnson at this point, is he? And the Browns, couple of key defensive injuries in the secondary. Of course, Greedy Williams went on IR, but they're also going to be down Ronnie Harrison, Carl Joseph, Grant Delpit's gone for the season. So that secondary has got some significant issues here. The key is going to be the pass rush and Myles Garrett with his swinging arm coming into that backfield. And I am going to lean towards Pittsburgh being able to handle that pressure. I think the Steelers' defense is. I'm not hopping off that train yet. They are as good as I thought they were coming into the year. We just haven't seen it, or they've gotten up big and, kind of taking their foot off the gas a little bit last week with Philadelphia, a couple weeks ago with Denver. That's not the real Pittsburgh defense. They've been leading in all of these games. I just want to see, curious as to, so they dropped a little bit in efficiency here after last week. In those ratings, from 3 to 7, they're still number 1 against the run, and we know that's what Cleveland wants to do. And so I'm inclined to go with Pittsburgh here. I think the Steelers are every bit as good as I thought they were coming into the year.
In terms of defense, I think talent-wise they might be the best in the entire league. It's just a scheme thing that I have a problem with. They blitz way more than any other team in the league, and I don't think they need to. It just doesn't make sense. I understand they get up and they bring corners, they bring safeties, they bring everybody. And with the front seven they have, at least heading into last week, they had 4 out of the top 5 pass rushers in terms of getting to the quarterback in 2 seconds or less or something, just by a pure numbers point of view, not in average, and they had one less game than everybody else. So their monsters are so good. I don't think they need to blitz, but they do. So they'll make a play sometime. Sometimes they'll get, Miles Sanders running for 75 yards or something because of it, but like we saw last week, which, by the way, Sanders had that monster run and then still had a terrible rushing day. So that tells you how good this Pittsburgh defense is. To your point about the receiver, Chase Claypool, I think, is legit. I think he's really, really good. It was the whole pass protection thing with me. If Ben didn't get pass protection, I don't think he would have used Chase Claypool, because Claypool is more of that vertical threat. He's a monster receiver who's really fast. I still believe Claypool could struggle in this game. It really, really does come down to pass protection, and Steelers can probably handle it. Yeah, I'm fine with taking the Steelers in this one. I wouldn't mess with the money line. I wouldn't mess with teasing the line. If I'm betting it at all, I'm taking the 3.5. Maybe I'd take it down to 2.5, I guess. I don't know. But overall, I think this should be a pretty easy Steelers win. And look for some personal foul penalties towards the end of the game when these teams get pretty heated. That'll be fun to watch. If you can try to keep yourself away from that Washington Giants game, this could be a fun one to watch.
Oh, I agree. This will be on the smaller monitor, I guess, for that 1 o'clock window for me. Because go football team. Do we see a Mason Rudolph sighting just because? Like this? All right. This is a prop bet for this game. Over under. Let's see. 5 to 10 seconds of TV airtime for Mason Rudolph.
It's going to be a lot. Clearly, they're going to show highlights of it. They're going to show Rudolph on the sideline. They're going to show stuff from Garrett. So yeah, I would go over for sure. You got to play into this.
It's got to be live TV time. Yeah. So it's got to be him on the sideline. I don't want any replays here.
I'm hoping it just shows to him like on the bench, obviously just a backup quarterback, but he's still like rubbing the back of his head or something. Like, doesn't see the camera, but he's like still like, oh geez, just flashbacks, PTSD from this game or something. Yeah, easy over on that one. I'm sure my bookie will get something like that. They always do. Crazy prop bets for sure. So does FanDuel. Anything else to say about this game before we go to Ravens-Eagles?
I think I'm good, but I'm pretty sure I saw over on FlurrySports.org that if you sign up at MyBookie with the promo code Flurry, it's double your money and you get a free World Series futures bet.
What's going on? What's going on? FlurrySports.org, you saw that? That's crazy.
I think so. Have you heard of that?
I don't know. I'll check it out. I think everyone else should check it out and let us know in the chat if that is true. Could be a fun time over there. Check it out.
Yeah, I'll take double my money.
Sounds like Jake's going to be joining us pretty soon as well. So let's try to get through this game and then where he's at. Baltimore Ravens 8.5-point underdogs is what I see here. There's also some 9.5 lines going to Philadelphia. Over under 46 and 46.5. Take your pick. In terms of injuries, obviously Eagles are playing, so there's going to be injuries to talk about. Let me find the specific ones. Okay. Lane Johnson out. Duke Riley out. Devontae Maddox, Matt Pryor, Deshaun Jackson, Marcus Epps, Alshon Jeffrey out. That's obviously along with Dallas Goedert, who's already out. Jalen Reagor already out. So the big one there is Lane Johnson, obviously, if they can't protect Wentz anyways. Have fun, Wentz. Darius Slay, it looks like he is going to play. He had a concussion last week, but he came back limited in practice, so he should be good to go. For the Ravens, only injury of note that looks to be in doubt, I guess, is Derek Wolfe. Obviously, that hurts the pass rush a little bit, but I think they're going to be fine. 8.5 or 9.5, I think it's a big line. I'm willing to take it. What about you, Henry?
Taking it with the Eagles, you're saying?
No, Ravens.
No, the Ravens. Okay. It's a stay away for me. I'm going to preface that, but if I had to lean, I think it would be to Philadelphia. And I just have not been impressed with what I'm seeing, I think, on a week-to-week basis out of Baltimore's offense.
That's fair.
They're putting up points. They're winning games. To me, it seems like it's the defense that's been getting it done more so. And I know last week, we were kind of talking about it after the day of game. Cincinnati just seemed like they laid down and died in that game, kind of a coaching mismatch, if you will. But the Ravens, last year, the run defense, the Achilles heel, second in efficiency coming into this game in that department. And they're still very good against the pass, top 10 there. They're third overall. I think the Eagles' offense is going to struggle, but this just seems like a game to me where Philly's defense forces a turnover or two, maybe like against San Fran, and hangs around. So I don't have a play. I would lean Philadelphia. I might even lean under 46.5. I don't know. That might be a contrarian take on this game. In terms of line movement, it opened at 7, and it's been bet up as high as 10. It looks like that would have been yesterday morning. And then out in Vegas right now, it's 9.5 across the board, 46.5 across the board. There's 146. So, yeah, if there's 146, I'll take under 46.5 as a lean.
I don't mind the undertake. I was looking up props for a defensive touchdown to be scored in this game because I think it's a 50-50 shot, honestly, for the Ravens to get a pick six in this game. I think Carson Wentz is going to get killed. Odds aren't as good as I would love. A defensive or special teams touchdown to be scored is only plus 200. So, sounds pretty. Everyone's thinking along the same lines, so I'm not willing to put money on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I could see a 30-10 game where the under hits. That's just the way I see this game playing out. I think the Eagles are not very good. While, to your point, though, I also haven't been impressed with the Ravens. The Ravens are struggling. I think Philadelphia's front line could actually bully Baltimore a little bit. Philly's defensive line could bully Baltimore's offensive line. I just think Eagles have no shot to do anything offensively, personally.
Yeah. To that end, it feels like almost a mini version of Washington Giants in terms of the defensive lines could just rue the day here. And, the Ravens continue to score, but I think we're both in agreement that the offense has not exactly looked pretty. Darius Slade, if he's out there, I think that's definitely beneficial in shutting down more passing lanes for Lamar Jackson, who I've said it before and I'll say it again. He's not a prolific passing quarterback. So unless the Ravens are able to establish a ground game between whoever they're trotting out there, I guess, at running back at this point, I could see Philadelphia hanging around, and I could see this being just kind of low-scoring, ugly football for a while.
That's definitely fair. Maybe I'll tease this one's line, but overall, I'm probably not going to bet this game. It's just not like you said. It's like a miniature version of Washington Giants. I get it. Hard to live up to that kind of game. Much rather put money over there. Much rather.
It's not bumping Washington Giants off the big screen by any means, but it has the potential to find its way onto the mini screen after I see my 10 seconds of Mason Rudolph.
Absolutely. We might hit that pre-game, to be completely honest, so that could be quickly.
Very true.
Let's go with Cincinnati at Indianapolis Colts. Cincinnati plus 7.5 at Sugar House BetMGM, FanDuel, and DraftKings. Looks like 7 is only at PointsBet. The over-under, we have 46 and 46.5. Big injury no one's really talking about. but us, because we bring you the news, the stuff that actually matters. DJ Reader for Cincinnati, big free agent signing, big run stopper, out for the season. With him out, it's like, okay, I'm taking the Colts. Like, if I have to tease it, fine. But we've seen the line come down. You can tell me where it was. It was pretty high initially, and people were liking the Bengals. I think you mentioned you liked it when the line was high before. At 7, I think I'm fine with Indianapolis. They're going to try to put Philip Rivers in as many beneficial situations this week as possible after getting slandered all week. Rightfully so. He was terrible last week against the Browns. But, yeah, this is a game I don't see Cincinnati coming up to do much of anything. I will say, though, Darius Leonard for Indianapolis is currently doubtful. Obviously, they've been playing without him. Defense still looks great. With him on the field, he's unbelievable. But they're still fine. Other doubtful players looks like Auden Tate. I don't see anything about A.J. Green as if it matters, I guess. But
last I saw, he's probably going to be out there. Oh,
great. Good for him. That makes me like the Colts even more.
And he wants to stay in Cincinnati, so he's gonna
sure.
turn this around.
Yep.
That's what I've seen.
Mm-hmm. Good PR team AJ Green's got over there. Who wants to stay in Cincinnati? I don't think anybody does. What do you have any leans on this game at all?
I don't at the touchdown line. That value is gone for me. As far as looking at the 9.5, it opened at 9 out in Las Vegas and it was up to half. It looks like early in the week, and then that was gone pretty quick. It sat at 8 for a number of days, and then it came down to 7.5. I'm seeing a few 7s as well. So even touchdown, there's no more value here on Cincinnati for me. If I were looking to do anything with the spread here, it would be teasing the Colts. I just don't trust Philip Rivers, and I know losing Reader, that's big for Cincinnati for sure. But I can't back Philip Rivers on anything. That Colts Browns game last week, we were talking before kickoff, and I was like, the under, that's got to be like my best bet of the week here, right? And then what do we have? A kickoff return, a pick six, another interception sets up a short field. Like, come on. The Colts, they were never really in that game to me as far as moving the ball offensively. And that's against a bad Browns secondary. Cincinnati's defense not great. I think I would put them up against Cleveland's secondary, and they would give them a run for their money. So while I think Indianapolis will be able to run the ball, and I kind of like the Bengals to bounce back just because I don't think they can look anywhere near as bad as they did against Baltimore last week. They're going to score more points here.
Sure.
But that's a tough matchup, like you said, going up against the Colts with or without Darius Leonard. And so I'm not really excited about anything. Maybe an under 46 here again, just because I could see the case where, it's like maybe Colts 24, Bengals 13 or something like that. Like similar to the Indy Chicago game. That's the kind of vibe I get here, where the Colts aren't able to do a ton, but they just do more than the opponent because their defense is that good.
I don't have sack numbers up for the Colts. I probably should have brought that up. Obviously, Joe Burrow's getting the shit kicked out of him because of his offensive line and the play design right now. I don't know. I have zero faith Bengals can win this game outright. Obviously, 7 points. There's a lot that can happen within that. And to your point, just Philip Rivers to do anything besides throw a pick in crucial moments? No. If I had to bet on that, I would for sure do that. But boy, he is no good. He is not a good player at all.
How long until we see Jacoby Brissett here for real? I don't get it. I don't understand what Frank Reich is, and what Indy's trying to prove. Like, yeah, you brought him in, but he doesn't have it anymore. And Drew Brees can't throw the ball down the field, but Drew Brees looks 50 times better, maybe more, than Rivers right now.
Philip Rivers, I respect it. He will throw an interception, a bad interception, talk his shit, going to the sideline, come back on, run this audible to the same play, throw the same thing, same result, same reaction, go to the sideline. He doesn't care. He's got that gunslinger mentality with none of the talent. It is what it is. They should have traded for Nick Foles when they had the chance. I think that would have been a better situation, obviously. Foles' number one choice was to go to Indianapolis and reunite with Frank Reich. Bears was his second choice, and obviously that's what happened. Colts chose Phillip Rivers as a free agent over trading for Nick Foles. That could be I wouldn't say it's a Super Bowl decision because I don't think even with Nick Foles they could compete with the Chiefs, but I think they may be a top 3 team in the AFC with Nick Foles over Phillip Rivers. Is that fair?
Top 3.
I think they're better than the Ravens.
I mean, yeah, because I'm not putting them over the Steelers, but I think you could make a case where they would be ahead of the Ravens in that scenario. And this is one of the things that really got under my skin last season is, everyone was saying, oh, Rivers is fine. It's the Chargers offensive line and all these injuries. I
was one of those people.
And I wasn't trying to call you out.
No. I'm just saying I was wrong. All
right. Well, just in watching some of the throws he made, like he had, I think the Monday night game, did they play that in Mexico City last year? I think it was in Mexico.
Yeah.
But against the Chiefs, he was getting protection and he was just bombing it down the field and getting picked off. And I was like, his line is fine. It's Rivers. And I'm glad I'm sort of being proven right on that this year.
It's disappointing. I'm a Phillip Rivers fan. I will continue to be, but I will do it a little bit quieter from here on out. We will be right back. We're going to transition and get Jake into here. Just in time, we have the Jets coming up in a couple picks. We need an audience for when Henry and I talk about the Jets here. So we will be right back.
Frank Gore.
What's that in the distance? We'll be right back. are back. Welcome. Jake is with us. Jake is COVID positive, everybody. Woo! Round of applause.
At least I did something positive with my life, I guess.
Hey, there we go. Good.
It's yeah, I don't know. I knew from the moment like I woke up on Tuesday, I was like, you know what? This feels exactly like COVID. Sure enough, today, health department calls me, had a nice little conversation, and I'm positive.
All I
Just
heard,
down to the stuff he knows now, though.
all I heard from that was we can make a video, cut this up, and say FlurrySports is COVID positive, and we can get some clickbait stuff. So thank you, Jake, taking one for the team.
Anything I can do.
That's what I love to hear. We have gone through quite a bit of games so far. We're kind of rolling, but the next one we have up is Atlanta at the Minnesota Vikings. Right now, I see the line at an even 4 everywhere. Vikings are home favorites. Over under, I have over 54 at Sugar House Points Bet and DraftKings. Under 54.5 at Bet MGM and FanDuel. I have a pretty strong lean on the Vikings in this one. But Jake, do you have any strong feelings overall in this game, or is this a stay away for you?
I've been leaning Falcons, especially with the news that Dalvin Cook is out. I think Falcons have to win a game. Like they just have to. The Vikings are not all that good. We saw the Texans, fire their coach, and then they turned around and won a game. That is very common throughout the history of the NFL. A coach, it gets booted out the door, and the team turns around and wins the next week. You're able to take 4 points here. I did put a small bet on the money line on the Falcons, but I think I'm going to roll with the +4. Here for Atlanta, and if I get burned, it's like I don't know how many times we've all said if it like we're done betting the Falcons, stay away from the Falcons, blah blah blah. But I'm going back to them this week. I'm going to take the 4 points, and if they burn me, that's it. I'm done for the 2020 season. There's no if they don't win this week, there's no other week that I can put my faith in them. Especially like I said with Dalvin Cook being out, I think that'll play a pretty big factor, especially if Atlanta is able to get their running game going. So I'll take the 4 points here.
What about you, Henry?
I don't really know that I have anything of substance on this one. The line's been pretty even keeled, sitting at 3.5 early in the week. Kind of got down to 3 there around Tuesday, it looks like, and then it jumped up to 4 pretty quick, and that's where it's sat since. So nothing really to glean there. The over is tempting, but 54 is high, and so I'm not. I don't think I'm willing to pull the trigger on that. I think both teams will be able to put up points. With that said, I think the Vikings. It feels like it's the Vikings' game to lose, both in terms of outright and the spread for me. This is a team that should be coming back with a vengeance after the disappointing loss to the Seahawks there last week in a game that they really should have won and kind of gave away. But I can't back Atlanta with the defense how it is, the issues they have going on. And it's tough to trust the Vikings too. So I see both sides of this equation. Minnesota is quietly looking better and better every week, and that's why it feels like it's their game to lose. I'm curious though, in a game where we're likely to see points scored, that touchdown dance prop over at Monkey Knife Fight, where you can pick 3 players. And you can over 2.5, you win 1.5 times your entry, over 3.5, 3 times. I would say sticking Alexander Madison in there. What would be the other two that you guys would want to throw out there? Because I know Dalvin Cook's out, but Madison's a great player to me. And I think steps in and performs just fine. So what would be the other two? I guess if you guys had to complete that.
What exactly is that prop? Is it anybody on the Vikings team, or what is the prop?
So it's any player in the game. You get to pick three from either team, and they have to exceed the goal touchdown number that you choose. You can do over 2.5 as your goal for 1.5 times your entry. Over 3.5 gets you triple your entry. Over 4.5 gets you six times.
Okay. Well, I definitely like Calvin Ridley. I think he's been pretty silent the last couple of weeks, but they're still looking at him. The Minnesota secondary not all that good. I don't know, is Julio Jones playing this week? I don't know, even if he is. It's okay. But he hasn't really been too much of a factor as far as taking away opportunities from Calvin Ridley. If anything else, it helps Calvin Ridley if Julio Jones is on the field. So I definitely look his direction to get in the end zone this week.
Yeah, to your point, I think Julio coming back and drawing top coverage is perfect for Calvin Ridley. I would much rather play Calvin Ridley this week with Julio in there. Obviously, who notoriously isn't used ever in the red zone, and Calvin Ridley is. As much as I want to pick the Vikings to win this game, I think going Calvin Ridley and Todd Gurley for touchdowns makes sense. Todd Gurley's red zone usage is ridiculous as well. As much as I think he is not very good anymore, he's going to see touches. He's going to see close to 33% of the touches and looks of red zone snaps, I think, for Atlanta this game. So I would go those three, and I think 2.5 is an easy hit. I'd go 3.5
though. One other point, Zach, I don't know if you mentioned it and I just missed it, but Takk McKinley is out for Atlanta. That's
monster.
That's not good. he's about all they got on defense right now.
Yeah, Takk McKinley, Jalen Hawkins, who's the safety, both out. Dalvin Cook for the Vikings is out, as well as Chris Boyd. And another corner, Holton Hill, is doubtful to play. For this game, the reason why I'm siding with the Vikings, and it is hard because, again, like you guys said, I don't think the Vikings are a very good team. So there's a layer of risk when there's games like this. It's the same type of thing with Lions-Jaguars. I believe in the Lions, but they're also a bad football team. So we'll see what happens there. But it's the same thing I keep preaching. If you run a cover 3 defense and don't have any pass rush, you're going to get killed. And that's what Atlanta is. And on top of that, Atlanta runs the exact same defense as Seattle does. And the Vikings just got to warm up. They just game planned for Seattle. They looked good against Seattle. They get to run out there with the exact same game plan against a defense that runs the same scheme with less talent. We saw the same thing with Ryan Fitzpatrick. He played Seattle, struggled a little bit, but still had some pros. Then he got to do the same exact thing against the same looks against the 49ers and slaughtered them. I think it's the same type of scenario here. And I think Kirk Cousins is capable of, leading some touchdown drives here with, I think Alexander Madison's good, but honestly, Adam Thielen and Jefferson shouldn't be able to be stopped in this game at all.
I completely agree. So from a fantasy football standpoint, if you're able to buy Justin Jefferson a little lower after a disappointing week last week, Adam Thielen getting all the work, take that. Jefferson's going to be fine. He'll bounce back, no sweat. He is the new Stephon Diggs there in Minnesota.
A more talented Stephon Diggs, I would say. Anything else you want to say about this game at all? Either of you?
No, it is. I'm looking through my bets that I already have placed, and it is one of my few games that I have that I'm taking a spread straight up. I have a lot of teasers this week, a couple small parlays, but I only have the Packers. So far, I only have the Packers and the Falcons straight up as far as live bullets. So really hoping the Falcons come through for me here, because last week was my first red week, and it was a heavy red week, so I could use a bounce back here.
I was saying earlier, too, I have a lot of teases for this week. And I just think that's the best way to attack this NFL season with so much chaos and uncertainty going on. I think it's pretty easy to exploit the lines here. Not for this one for me, but yeah. Anyways, next game, Houston at Tennessee. I think we talked about it a little bit off air, and I think there's a disagreement between us. I see 3.5 across the board. Tennessee are home favorites. Over under set at 53.5 across the board as well. Henry, can you see if there was any movement after that Tennessee game on Tuesday? But
I can dig that up.
Yeah, check that out. That would be interesting to see how everyone reacted, I guess, to that game. I know Derrick Henry didn't get many touches overall in that game. You wouldn't have thought it after seeing that big stiff arm shared around on social media everywhere. Some people are worried about him not getting touches. I would assume on a short week they just didn't need to give him touches, and he's going to be healthy for this game. In terms of injuries, Tennessee has one questionable player, and that's Daquan Jones. Texans have a bunch of questionable players. Jordan Atkins is probably most likely to miss out of all of them, but he's also the most notable, and I don't think it matters. So overall, these teams are pretty healthy. We've seen both of these teams perform very differently this season, and I just don't see any way how the Texans stop Tennessee offensively, I guess. One thing I do want to look up here, Jake, you can give your take on the game. I'm not sure if Corey Davis was removed from the COVID list yet or not, but I will let you know in a second. But do you have any leans early on?
Yeah, all your guys' Tennessee arguments are completely fair, and I think I was putting a little bit more into the, they're playing Tuesday, then they got to play again right away. But as you pointed out, it's more of a break than a Sunday to Thursday game, or at least an equivalent break. So I guess you don't really have to put too much in there or at stake there, especially since Tennessee just walloped on them on Tuesday. So it's like it was pretty much just like a practice game, a run through. They got their feet wet again after being off for a week or a week and a half, whatever it was. So I mean, Tennessee looks good. And I definitely don't love this Texans bet here, but I think just to be on the contrary, I think you two are rolling the Titans. I'm going to say if the Titans are going to lose a game, it might be in a spot like this, where they did look good on Tuesday, but again, it was probably maybe a bit of a subpar opponent compared to what the Texans can be if the Texans come out and play at their best. Not that they have all season, but I don't know. I think Tennessee loses eventually, and it might be this week. I mean, they have to lose eventually, and I think it might be this week is a better way to put it.
Yeah, so looking at line movement, there was no immediate reaction after the Tuesday game, and then it jumped up to 3.5 here. It would have been 2 days ago, the morning of the 15th, so Thursday.
Didn't you say it was 5.5 at one point? I never saw that, but...
Yeah, it opened 5.5, and I'm assuming that would be before the Titans played. So look ahead if you will. Las Vegas will release lines early like that, and that'll stand as the opening line when you're looking at it on Dom Best Odds. So it's still that it still is accurate there at 5.5 as the true opening line. But the Titans taking a little bit of money. I think it just speaks to how high the Texans are power rated. And maybe not deservedly so. We've seen them. They got sharp play against the Steelers. There was another game too. I can't think of who the matchup was off the top of my head, where I felt like the line should be kind of going in the other direction, and Houston was the one taking money. So I was on Houston last week. I liked them against Jacksonville. This one, I really don't have a whole lot of a lean on the spread. I think the Titans are very much for real. And if any game were to prove that, it was Tuesday. And everyone's saying, the Bills played terrible. They didn't have Trey White. Whatever. Tennessee's legit. And there's a reason that I like them to win the AFC South coming into the year. And Ryan Tannehill being vastly superior than Philip Rivers is every bit confirming that judgment for me. I would be looking at the total here. I think it's going to go over. Tennessee's defense was giving up drives to Buffalo on Tuesday. And I know the Bills' offense, you can argue, certainly better than Houston's on a consistency level. But the Texans have Deshaun Watson. They've got weapons there. I think they'll be able to score. And like Zach said, I don't see Houston stopping the Titans in this game. And it's trickling down, the over-under actually. Out in Vegas, 53.5 is kind of the line we had when we started the discussion. As a point of reference, but a lot of those have come off, and it's sitting at 53. If that trend continues, maybe a little waiting game here and getting the best value you can. But I would be looking to play this game over. I think there's going to be a lot of points scored. There's one other point I want to make on this game real quick, and this goes back to Zach's referee talk. Alex Kemp is the lead official for this game, and I don't know how much of a concern it'll be here in this matchup specifically. But that's the same crew that worked last Thursday's game. Tampa Bay, Chicago, some egregious calls there, going both ways, I thought. And that's also the same crew that had Rams Bills in week 3. And of course, pretty much cost the Rams that game with a very questionable call down in the red zone there on Buffalo's winning drive that led to the game-winning touchdown. So just something to watch here in this one for sure. Alex Kemp has kind of gotten his face on TV maybe a little more than some other officials this season.
Really quick, to your point, Alex Kemp's crew has called 630 yards worth of penalties this season. Next closest looks like... Oh, never mind. That's not the most. The most is Jerome Boger. That's actually really bad. Boger has one less game as well. But
no, you know why he has the most? Because he did the Denver Jets game.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, all the unsportsmanlike.
That's the outlier.
That'll do it. And speaking of Denver, I've been a little out of it this week, obviously. So I was thinking for some reason when I was thinking back to that Tuesday game, I had it in my mind that they were playing the Broncos, which is why I said subpar opponent. Obviously, it was the Bills. Bills are not a subpar opponent in any way you look at it, and are obviously a better team than the Texans. So ignore that point that I made. I was thinking it was the Broncos, and I mean that kind of just reiterates that you guys have better points, you have better leans than I do here on this game. I think Tennessee probably is the better bet. The smart bet, but I don't know. I'm in a kind of in a gambling spot here on the Texans, but I think I'm going to roll with it. Like a true gambling spot.
The one thing the Texans have is Deshaun Watson. I think Deshaun Watson honestly could completely destroy this Tennessee defense. I think, Henry, you said that. But, yeah, I don't think this Tennessee defense is amazing. I do think they're going to get after Deshaun Watson a lot, though. Watson continues to get hit all the time, and obviously, Jadeveon Clowney going back to Houston. Vrabel, if you want to play that narrative, I guess Vrabel going back to Houston. I think that Tennessee pumps up their pass rush quite a bit. It just kind of depends on how Houston can deal with it. And to tie that back into the ref talk, Alex Kemp has called the most holding penalties of the year. 24 in 5 games, 139 yards worth. I think that hurts both teams a little bit, but it would hurt a poor pass protection team more than a ground and pound team, I would assume. So maybe Texans, are behind the chains a little bit more often than they would like. Yeah, I don't know. I like the Titans. I could definitely see. I wouldn't surprise me if the Texans won, but on paper, Titans should win this game. This next game is one, boy, I want zero part of it. Absolutely no part of it. Denver Broncos going to Foxborough to face the Patriots. Broncos at Sugar House and DraftKings, I have a +9, or else -8.5. Over under is 44.5 at Sugar House and DraftKings, 45.5 at BetMGM. Quite a bit of differences actually across the industry in terms of total. You can pick up a couple 45 somewhere. Obviously, Melvin Gordon, we heard, is out. He has strep throat. It's not the DUI. Wink, wink. I'm sure it has nothing to do with that. But he is not in. Philip Lindsay will be the bell cow, I guess. They'll put in Royce Freeman. Royce Freeman a little bit. I think Noah Fant is out for the Broncos. I can bring up the injury report. But do either of you have more of a strong lean on this game than I do? Because I definitely don't want to bet this game.
I don't know what you feel, Henry, but I think this is a spot where you just got to trust the Patriots because again Cam Newton was not out due to injury or due to anything. He had I believe he had a asymptomatic case of COVID, so he's ready to go. He's fresh as can be. I don't think him missing a game or well, I guess it was only one game because they canceled the other one. I don't think that's gonna make any sort of big impact or make a difference on his performance or the offensive performance. We know how good Bill Belichick is with extra time, even if it's that couple extra days after playing a Thursday game, especially after a bye week. Broncos do have injuries. They got Drew Lock coming back for his first start since week 2, so we don't know what we're going to expect out of him, but we know that the Patriots defense is going to be ready for whatever the Broncos throw at them. 9 or 9.5, whatever it is a big number, but I could see the Patriots scoring enough points and then just holding off the Broncos, come later in the game, fourth quarter, Broncos might just have trouble driving the ball, getting in the end zone. So I don't think 9 or 9.5 is big enough to really scare me off. It's obviously it's a little bit of a risk. You could tease it down a point or two and be a little safer. But my big play on this game is I've got the Patriots in almost every single one of my teasers, almost every one, because I learned from my mistakes last week when Kansas City cost me every single bet that I made. But I mean, I've got them teased all over. I've got them teased all the way down to minus 4, minus 1. I've got them teased past 0 all the way to plus 3 in my 12-point teaser. Which I love. I love those 12-point teasers, by the way. I don't know. I think that the Patriots are way more prepared for the Broncos and to play this game than the Broncos are right now. That's just I don't know. That's my take on it. I'm trusting Bill Belichick. I'm trusting a healthy Cam Newton. While there's a lot of questions on the other side of the field. So I probably will lay. I'll probably play this game straight up. Lay the 9 points, 9.5, whatever. Not for a huge bet, but I am hedging with all those teases anyways. But I want something to cheer for, and I think the Patriots are in a decent spot. So I'll probably lay the 9 or 9.5 on this game. It is a big number, though.
What kind of odds are we getting on a 12-point teaser, Jake?
Depending on your bookie, it's usually like minus 140, minus 150. It's a set. It's like a 4-team minus 150 teaser is what it always is. And I mean, that minus 150 is not too bad if you feel pretty good about it. You put $50, $100 on it or whatever, you're still making 75, so or 65, I believe it is. I like those 12-point teasers. They make me feel safe.
It's always good to feel safe. So just looking at some movement here for this game, open 9.5, bet up to 10. Went back and forth a little bit after that, between 9.5 and 10, and then it's just kind of been a steady drop in favor of the Broncos here. I'm seeing a lot of 8s out in the Las Vegas market. I'm seeing anywhere from 8 even to 9 even. There's 1 9 still on the board. So this
if I could find 8, I would hop on that for sure. I would take 8.
Yeah, this game's getting better around. The 8's very intriguing for your standard 6-point teaser, just because it gets you through 7 and 3. To me, the way I'm kind of looking at this game, Denver's defense has got a lot of injuries, but they're still playing well, and that's especially against the run, where they rank 7th in adjusted efficiency. And no Melvin Gordon. This is going to be a big Cam Newton game for me. I think Damian Harris is going to have a tough go of it. And it's also going to be a big Phillip Lindsay game in terms of volume. And so that leads me back over to Monkey Knife Fight. Pick all 3 of these correct, guys, and we get 6 times our buy-in. Passing yards, Cam Newton versus Drew Lock, with Drew Lock catching 10.5 passing yards. Give me Newton all day there. Rushing yards, Damian Harris versus Phillip Lindsay, with Lindsay catching 4.5. Give me Phillip Lindsay. And receiving yards, Julian Edelman versus Jerry Jeudy, with Jeudy catching 4.5. That one's a little tougher. I think I'm going to go. I'm going to go with Edelman, and that's contingent on Noah Fant being out there, which right now I'm seeing is listed as questionable with that ankle injury. If he's not out there, man, 4.5 is not that big of a discrepancy. So I'd probably ride with Edelman there as well. But I think I like this prop a lot. You guys have any disagreements, I guess, on those?
The only one that would make me nervous again is that Jeudy one. I think, what he has the potential to bust off a big play, whereas Edelman usually gets him in smaller chunks, so he might have to make 3-4 plays to equal up to one play that Judy makes. That's just a hypothetical there. But I also think, if Noah Fant is out, Melvin. So he's out. Melvin Gordon's out. I think that they're going to have to force some looks to Jerry Jeudy. We've seen him be able to make plays throughout the last few weeks. I think he's hovering about at like 10 and a half fantasy points like every single week, basically, because he hasn't really gotten in the end zone too much, but he has put up decent yardage. So that would be the only one that would like give me pause, give me hesitation. But I don't have like a big enough to be like, no, definitely don't pick Julian Edelman. Like, I think it could definitely go either way. That's the point of the prop, I guess.
True. I'm not super high on Jerry Jeudy in this game. I think he could, if we want to do like a reception prop, I think he could rack up a bunch of receptions. I don't think he gets the big play. He sees a matchup in the slot with Jonathan Jones, who I think he could break his ankles all day, and I think he knows that as well. He's going to be playing off him a little bit. So could we see, I don't know, 7 catches for like 56 yards? That seems like a line, with maybe 3 yards after the catch. That's what I feel like is going to happen. Whereas everyone knows the Broncos slot corner is Essang Bassey.
Love that guy.
Love him. And Julian Edelman obviously was banged up before the big break. I'm sure he benefited from all this rest. And we saw how, if the game's close, Cam Newton's going to look towards him. So I would lean towards him, I guess, a little bit.
My final point overall betting this game also would just be, Drew Lock still is a young quarterback. He's missed multiple weeks here. He's got a huge arm, but I mean, look at Jimmy G. Came back, last week or whatever, was pulled in the second half, just didn't have it in his first week back. I mean, it can happen to Jimmy G and the 49ers with that coaching, and that experienced squad. Why can't it happen to Drew Lock against the Patriots defense with, that coaching, that experience on that side of the ball? So I'm not convinced Drew Lock's going to come out here and light it up this week. I think he's only projected like 13.5 points in fantasy. So I don't know. I think, like you said, it's going to be a big game for one quarterback, being Cam Newton. It might be a struggle for the other one.
Okay, for this next game, I'm going to do a little joke here just for me personally. You guys can't hear it. Homecoming by Kanye West playing in the background because it's the New York Jets going to the Miami Dolphins. Obviously, Frank Gore homecoming game.
I'm coming home again.
I'm sure you're synced up perfectly with it, too. But Jets plus 9.5 is what I have here. Frank Gore homecoming game. Adam Gase finally got Le'Veon Bell out of the locker room. Monkey off his back.
Finally, that horseshit player. Thank God he's gone.
Let the man coach now. It is ready to go. To be completely honest, already wrote down, because I put props on Frank Gore for this game. I already have money in. You guys don't even need to sway me. Don't worry about it. Frank Gore has plus 400 odds, not plus 400 yards. Plus 400 odds to get the Jets' first touchdown of the game. Lock it up. Not first touchdown overall, just the Jets. So even if it comes in the fourth quarter, fine. That's okay. He has plus 135 anytime touchdown. Love that as well.
I was just going to look that up.
Yeah. I believe it was plus 1,000 for 2 touchdowns.
You
know I have money in it. I think he's already kicking out his hats because I feel a hat trick game's coming on. But do I think the Jets are going to win straight up? Maybe. I think they could. It seems like an Adam Gase spot, but I do. This is a game I'm teasing for sure. I've teased the 9.5 line up to 15.5, and I feel good about that. If they can't cover that, I will not put any money on the Jets the rest of the season. I promise. But if I don't know, I don't see the way they lose by more than 16 points. Henry, you go first because you're a Jets fan. No bias here, obviously. What's your thoughts?
By the way, if Frank Gore scores 3 touchdowns this weekend, he will triple his season total, which is at 0 right now.
Is that true? Okay. I think the trends are looking good then, right? Is that what you took from that? I think so.
He hasn't had a homecoming game yet, though. He hasn't had a homecoming plus a revenge game, plus no Le'Veon Bell to hold this guy back right here, man.
And Adam Gase. He didn't have to waste time watching his son play college football today either, or Friday, whenever his game was canceled, right? So he is locked in.
Yeah, so is mine. He's focused on the real stuff. Yeah.
Let's go.
Shout out to Southern Mississippi and UTEP there, and my under bet that never happened this weekend.
Hey, went under, right?
That's totally fair. It did. So that touchdown dance prop over at Monkey Knife Fight, we got to have Frank Gore in there, obviously, right? And then, I think some other names you could be looking at here, potentially Devontae Parker, Jameson Crowder. Jameson Crowder, I've said it on, I think, every stream this week, and I'll say it again. If you own him in fantasy football, you're starting him every week. So those are some options. I could see Myles Gaskin getting thrown in there. Plenty of options to choose from there if you wanted to do that touchdown dance prop. And, if Frank Gore's going to get you those 2 touchdowns for plus 1,000, you might as well put the goal as over 3.5 and win 6 times your money at Monkey Knife Fight as well. Looking at the line movement, this game's kind of been all over the place. Opened at 9, down to 8 early in the week, and then it jumped up as high as an even 10. The Dolphins were 10-point favorites for much of the week, and it's trickled back down since. Out in Las Vegas right now, we have got 9s predominantly and a few 9.5s as well on the market. Total of 47 across the board. You could tease this game either way, I think. I would be fine running the Dolphins through 7 and preferably through 3 if there is a little more money coming in on the Jets here and you can tease it down from 8.5. With that said, I don't like to bet on my team to lose ever, even if we might lose every game this year. So I'd rather tease this up to 15, like Zach said. That feels pretty safe. And, they've gotten me good here, betting them straight up the last couple of weeks. So maybe what's the money line odds? I got to pull that up here.
I got money line right here. It's plus 320, it looks like, for the Jets.
Yep, I got plus 325 at my bookie as well. That's tempting. I'm not gonna lie. I think Miami definitely should win this game, but where's this win coming from for New York this year? It's gotta come somewhere, right? We're not gonna go over. And if there's any week Adam Gase is going to be motivated, it's this week. So,
come on, let's go.
I guess we'll see.
Also, on Bovada, you can go Jets plus 20 for minus 400. So that's not too bad for 20 points, right? I'll take it. Easy.
There is no way in hell I would ever lay that kind of number on the Jets.
Free buddy.
Oh. And here's one more point I want to bring up. Mekhi Becton is doubtful. So I think a certain person on this show would argue the Jets line might be better this week without him.
That's not a joke. That's 100% serious. He is trash. He should stay on the sideline. And Joe Flacco's in there, by the way. So, Joe Flacco, the cheat code. What's that? Running on average over the past week more yards than Lamar Jackson, Henry? Is that correct?
20-3 last week. Flacco 20 rushing yards, Jackson 3.
Turning back the clock. Let's go.
So my only rebuttal is, of course, Fitzpatrick can Fitzpatrick. Of course, Miami can lay an egg. But 9.5 points seems pretty proper and pretty doable to me. I mean, outside of the Patriots game in Week 1, where they scored 11 points, the Dolphins have scored 28 points, 31 points, 23 points against the Seahawks, 43 points, and then again that 11 points. Whereas the Jets are the total opposite, where they have 1 week where they scored. I mean, they lost every game, but they scored at least a decent amount 1 week. There it is, 28 against the Broncos. Otherwise, they've scored 17, 13, 7, 10, and 10. I mean, the point discrepancy is massive. It's huge. So I think Miami scores the points this week, just as they have been every other week. I think the Jets struggle to score points, just as they have every other week. And I don't think 9.5 is that crazy of a line. Now, 20, of course, that's a little bit different conversation. Like beating somebody by 20, even though the Dolphins did it last week against the Niners. That's a totally different conversation. They can easily win this game by 10 points. If I could get even 9, I'll take that, but I'll take 10. I'll take 9.5 as well. I think they win this game by double digits as long as they don't come out and beat themselves. That's how they lose this game. That's how they don't cover. Is they just lay an egg. They miss out on a couple scoring drives because of bad turnovers. Whatever. But it's not going to be the Jets beating them.
You're
I'll coach too. Yeah, for sure. Brian Flores. I mean.
No, Adam Gase.
You think? Oh, no.
You've never combined a Frank Gore revenge game, a Frank Gore homecoming, and an Adam Gase revenge game all in one. And that's what we're doing here this week. So take that for what it is.
I'll let you know what Frank Gore's last game in Miami was, because I'm pretty confident it was at least better than his rushing average this season. Let's go.
Playing with fire. Also, while Zach looks that up, Ryan Fitzpatrick got his Fitzmagic out of the way last week. He's not going to Fitzmagic twice in a row. Just saying.
He doesn't need any magic against the Jets, dude. He just needs to play football.
Okay.
Just needs to play football.
Okay, guys. Last time Frank Gore was in Miami, by the way, facing the Patriots. Would you agree, Jake? Patriots are a fairly good football team.
Fairly good.
Miami won straight up 34-33, obviously. Frank Gore, 12 carries for, want to take a guess? How many yards?
108 yards.
Okay, you guessed really high. But 92 yards, 7.6.
That's not that far off.
Yeah, but you were supposed to say something low because you're a Frank Gore hater, and I love Frank Gore.
I'm not a Frank Gore hater. This goes way beyond Frank Gore. We're talking about the Jets.
12 for 92. That's like almost 8 yards a carry.
Well, if my math, it was 7.67. If my math is correct, Le'Veon Bell and Frank Gore were the only two running backs to see snaps for the Jets last week. They don't have Le'Veon Bell anymore, so maybe we see 100% of the snaps for Frank Gore, huh? And if that's the case, might as well put the line at Jets plus, or not Jets, Jesus, Dolphins. I'm getting confused to who I'm cheering for. Dolphins plus 9.5 here. They said they want to get LaMichael P. Ryan more involved. I understand that. That sounds a lot like Adam Gase playing mind games with Brian Flores, throwing him off. We know what's going to happen. We know the game plan. If they get down the red zone, look for Adam Gase to whip out the whole Frank Gore fade to the back corner yet again. And now they have a competent quarterback in there. If Joe Flacco doesn't run it himself, boom. I like it.
So I just did a little quick math here. The Jets have scored 75 points this season. The Dolphins have scored 136 points this season. That's a difference of 60. That's a difference of 61 points, which is 12.2 points a game. If they keep up with their average, that means they cover this spread by a field goal.
Yeah, that total is completely skewed. It's like the Packers are like, if they play the high school team, they could have so much better stats. They haven't played the feared Jets defense yet with Greg Williams putting a target on everybody's head. You kill the head and the body dies. He is bringing back the old speech. They haven't played to the entire building all week long. I'm ready to go. I'm juiced. And by the way, again, if the Jets fail me, if they don't cover 15.5 for that teaser, I'm done. I won't even talk about a Frank Gore revenge game anymore. I'll be that hurt.
No, you can't do that to me.
This
is the part of the show where I just sit here and cry laughing every week.
Well, I'm just saying that's how confident I am. We know we can't get rid of it. It's the segment that's going to stay for years to come on FlurrySports because we know Frank Gore, maybe at the midpoint of his career, he's got a lot left, though. A lot left.
The Dolphins have just played better defenses as well. They've played the Seahawks, the Patriots. They both played the Bills. They played better defenses, and they've scored 61 more points.
Seahawks aren't good.
Seahawks and Bills are not good defenses.
49ers
Well, they're at least equivalent to the defenses that the Jets have played. The Jets played the Cardinals, the Broncos, the 49ers when they were beat up, and then they also played the Bills.
Broncos are pretty good. They should have won that game too, by the way.
Whatever.
Okay, let's talk about Packers Buccaneers. We might circle back to this Jets game just because, obviously game of the week. But Packers, right now, we've seen a lot of line movement. They're 1-point favorites on the road. We have the over/under 55 at points bet in DraftKings, 55.5 everywhere else. Devontae Adams back this week. I just saw that they activated Equanimous St. Brown. So they have two good wide receivers coming here. Alan Lazard still out. Mercedes Lewis blocking tight ends back. So cool your Robert Tonyan takes. But the running game for the Packers definitely should be on point with Lewis here. And on the flip side, Tampa Bay lost Vita Vea, who is the top-graded defensive player on their entire team so far this year. Third best run stopper on the entire team. I think that's a massive loss that not enough people are talking about. I know we've brought it up this week multiple times already, but I think that is a really big deal. But aside from that, Buccaneers are pretty much getting everybody else back. It sounds like Chris Godwin's good. Leonard Fournette's at least going to be active. Who knows how active he is in the game plan, but he should be on the sideline. Henry, do you have any strong takes for this game? I might not bet it just because I'm a Packer fan, but I will say I am leaning towards Green Bay being able to at least win by over a point.
Anything you've heard on Carlton Davis before I dive into it a little more? I see he's questionable. I don't know if we have a better update than that.
I haven't heard, but I will look while you talk.
All right. So this game has gone all over the place in terms of line movement. The Bucs open 2.5-point favorites. Dropped down through 0 earlier this week, and it's been bouncing around. Green Bay -2, Green Bay down to -1, -1.5, all over the place. And I'll tell you straight up where I am on this game. I took Green Bay +1 last week. I think the loss of Vita Vea, like Zach mentioned there, defensively for Tampa Bay is massive. The Bears were able to do some things in the passing game against them, albeit in spurts, classic Nick Foles, there on Thursday Night Football. And the Packers, like Chicago, have a pair of running backs who can get involved in the passing game. Devontae Adams will be back. That should open up a little more, I would think, for Marquez Valdes-Scantling, we were talking about before the show, the three of us. Green Bay's defense is not great, but they have playmakers. Darius Smith is questionable, looks like. I'm assuming he'll be out there. And for my money, we talked to Phillip Rivers. I think we mentioned Drew Brees already. Tom Brady still, to me, does not look that great. And so with this in mind, I think Green Bay will win the game. I took them +1 because, it's just that extra point of insurance. But now that they are favorites, I could still see them covering this line. I really could. There's more questions, I think, for me still than answers as far as Tampa Bay is concerned in a lot of areas, especially now that they have to shuffle along the defensive front.
So because I'm a fan of this game, I actually ended up putting more money on it than any other game. Because I'm a fan, I'm going to watch the game anyways. I'm going to cheer extra hard for the Packers anyways. But now I got some money on it to boot. And as I've established on and off air, and I tweeted it out, this board, all over this board is just confusion for me. I know you guys were a little more confident in the board as a whole than I was this week, but that's why I'm not on too many games, at least outside of my teasers. But I do have the Packers straight up here. I have the over straight up, and then I have the Packers teased 6 points, 6.5 points, and 7 points. I have a same game parlay with the Packers and the over. So I've bet this game a bunch of different ways. I think both offenses I think it's a good spot for both offenses. I think they're both going to be able to work and do pretty much whatever they want against the opposing defense. So I think it's a good spot for both offenses. I think it's a good spot for Tom Brady to look good. I think the Packers defense is a good matchup for him. Not quite sure what we're going to get out of the Buccaneers running backs against the Packers defense, but I'm sure they will get theirs as well. I like both offenses here, and since it's basically a pick 'em game, don't really care how many points the Buccaneers score as long as the Packers come out on top. So hey, if this is a 39 to 35 type of game or somewhere in there, I will be ecstatic. I'll be very happy. 40 points seems like a lot, but I do think one team might be able to get there.
One more real quick point on line movement. It's dropped down to a pick again at the Westgate. All other shops are -1. That's out in Las Vegas. So maybe some sharper buyback here on Tampa Bay. But at the same time, I'll just emphasize the point of when you're seeing line movement either way, and you're on the low side of 3 and moving through 0. It's arguable. It's debatable, I guess is a better word, how significant those moves really are. Basically, you're just seeing money come in on either side to win the game outright. Where the moves really become key is when you're moving up to or especially through 3. Of course, being the field goal margin, that's the key number here as far as football is concerned. So I think this is just drawing money either way at this point. And the real key move, the real significant move on this game for me would be Green Bay getting that down so far through 0 all the way up to them almost reaching 3-point favorites.
And I looked up Carlton Davis. There's nothing definitive, but just by the way his practice participation went, I would assume he plays.
Okay.
Yeah, I would assume so. Obviously, Devontae Adams would see the majority of him. If for some reason they don't run him with Devontae Adams when he goes to the slot, and Devontae Adams gets to go up against, what's his name? Whatever Bunting.
Goodwill Bunting? That guy's name?
Yeah, he's fucking terrible. He is one of the worst cornerbacks I've ever seen.
Did you guys hear my joke?
No, I didn't say.
I said Goodwill Bunting.
Oh, there we go. Thank you, Jake.
Thank you for acknowledging that. Thank you.
He was for sure gave up among the most yards in the league before that Tuesday game when I was looking. He's no good if they travel, I guess, him with, or if he doesn't move out of the slot. I don't know. I just don't see the cornerbacks for Tampa matching up well at all. Reversely, I don't think Green Bay's corners match up well against the Tampa Bay wide receivers at all. Jair Alexander is one of the best man-to-man corners in the entire league. I don't think anyone can dispute that. But he's going to go up against probably Scotty Miller, because he's not going to move to the slot and he can't cover Mike Evans because of his size. So he's kind of wasted in this game, unfortunately. Kane will probably see the majority of Mike Evans. And then you have Will Redmond, going up against Chris Godwin, which scares me. So, yeah, to Jake's point, I think there could be a lot of points scored in this game.
And I got a few more numbers to support that actually outside of the Falcons game, which the Falcons skewed these numbers because they should have been able to score more points than they did. But I mean, the Packers are not. They're scoring a ton. They're the number one scoring offense, but they're not like winning their games by a mile. They won one 43-34, another one 37-30. The Lions skewed a little bit too, but in those 3 games, there was a total of 77, 63, and 67 points scored for an average of 69 points per game. Again, outside of that. Outside of that Atlanta game. And the Atlanta game, they still scored 46, even with Atlanta struggling the whole night. So, I mean, there's going to be points. I like the over here, especially if you're teasing it down. Like the 12-point teaser, it's all the way down to 43, but with a 6-point teaser, it's 49.5. Again, their lowest total this season was 46 against a offense that was struggling. I don't think that the I don't think that the Buccaneers offense is going to struggle nearly that much. They're going to put up at least 20 or in the 20s against the Packers. So I'm pretty comfortably on the over here as long as everything keeps going the way that it has, and it has gone that way through 5 weeks. I don't see why it would be any different, especially coming off a bye, getting guys healthy, getting guys back. It should be points galore in this game.
Completely agree. And if we wanted to do that touchdown prop contest for Monkey Knife Fight, I would be pretty willing to go Ronald Jones, Aaron Jones, and maybe Devontae Adams. I think that would be pretty safe to score a lot of touchdowns.
I think Mike Evans probably finds the end zone as well.
Probably. I'm a little worried Pettin tries to take away the big play.
Yeah.
It just depends on if they use him in the red zone or if they decide to find Gronk in the red zone or Cameron Brate. There's just a lot of weapons once they get there.
Yeah. Definitely Aaron Jones, though. I mean, Aaron Jones for sure. He's finding the end zone. Maybe do like a 2 touchdown prop on Aaron Jones. You're probably getting decent plus money there. Should be a good day for him.
So guys, I just have to say I probably won't be watching this game just because I'm gonna go from that major battle between football team and Giants right to Jets Dolphins. But you definitely could tease this total down 6 points, like Jake said. Pair it with the new total of 43 on that Washington Giants game. It's been bet up a slight bit, so tease that up. Tease Packers Bucks down. There you go. You got yourself a nice little totals teaser, and you can let me know how it plays out because I got some Frank Gore to watch.
Is that Giants game late or is that an early one though?
No, it's early. So you'd have action across the whole day.
Okay.
The Jets game is late.
Yeah, I'll mention the Jets game. I'm a Packer fan, but it's hard to get away from must-watch TV. It's a car crash. You can't look away, and I'm expecting plenty of crashes at that game. Let's go to Sunday Night Football here. Los Angeles Rams at the San Francisco 49ers. It looks like the line has moved since the last I've looked at it at a couple places. FanDuel PointsBet has it down to 2.5 for the Rams being road favorites. Everywhere else looks like it's still 3. Total is 51.5 or 52, depending on where you can find it. Pretty much the same. I've been saying all week this feels like a trap line to me because I don't see any way that the Rams lose this game. But that's such a low total where it feels like, okay, so is this the Jared Goff collapse game? Because that's the only way I feel like they lose it. It's, again, cover 3 defense that has 0 pass rush. They lose every pressure they sign, anything like that. They don't have corners. Talking about San Francisco, they don't have corners that can cover very well. They can't stop the run up front. I don't know. I don't see a way the Rams lose. And I think the Rams are a pretender. I don't think they're a contender. But I think the 49ers are very much lost right now. And this is a make or break game for Jimmy Garoppolo. And I think he could really struggle as well. I know you guys were possibly on the other side of this game, though. So I want to know why you think, if I'm correct, why you would defend the 49ers in this spot.
I actually have. I don't have my mind made up on this game. It was another confusing one for me because the Rams. I agree with you. I think the Rams are good, but they might be a little bit of pretenders. I mean, we saw it was completely played down to their competition, just struggled mightily. But we've also seen the San Francisco 49ers not look like themselves. They've struggled. Jimmy G should be. I mean, he's got to be better than last week. He literally has to be unless he goes out there and dies on the field. Like he had a 15 quarterback rating. A 15. So Jimmy G is going to be better. I think it's going to be a closely contested game, as are most of the contests between these two teams, and honestly, just within that division. So I think it's going to be close either way. What side you're on, I could be swayed either way with a good argument, but I think it's going to be a really close game.
It's the make or break game here for the 49ers and Garoppolo, and that's exactly what Zach said, and that's mainly why I like San Fran catching points here at home. I do have some real reasons to back it up, though. It's not just going to be a narrative play. This line, of course, opened with San Fran favored by 3. That's been bet all the way through 0, up to 3. We just talked about how that's a significant move when you get up to and through 3. And we're starting to see that buyback come. It was at 3.5 here at points throughout the week. And there are a few 2.5s popping up out in Las Vegas, kind of bouncing between 2.5, 3 as we speak. I like both passing attacks in this one. I think the 49ers are able to get it going against the Rams here a little bit. They got their weapons back. Garoppolo, last week, in a way, I'm kind of taking last week with a grain of salt. It's his first game back. Obviously, it was rusty. And might not have even been 100%. We saw going into that game. We called kind of a Fitzmagic spot here on this very show a week ago, and that's what turned out to happen. Once they fell behind, San Fran was just out of it for good. I think the passing game here is able to get going for the 49ers. The weakness for the Rams defensively is actually against the run in terms of adjusted numbers. They rank 24th. That's huge to open things up and take pressure off Garoppolo and that passing game. I think you get a steady dose of Raheem Mostert in this game, who is back and fully healthy now as well. And then also on the other side of the ball, as much as I agree with the points that Jared Goff should be able to pick apart this 49ers defense that continues to be decimated by injuries, San Fran is good against the run. In terms of fantasy points, I know for sure they're top two, I believe. In allowed top 3 maybe in fantasy points allowed to running backs. In terms of adjusted efficiency, the Niners rank 6th in stopping the run. I don't see the Rams mustering much of a ground game in this one. We saw how they looked last year when everything was put on Jared Goff to move this offense up and down the field. And the bottom line is, with such a drastic line move, if you're going to give me the 49ers plus 3 or better after they opened -3, I'm going to side with that contrarian play all week. So give me the Niners here. I think it's a close game. I could see the Rams winning it by a field goal. But I for sure think San Francisco is going to show up to play this week. They've got to, or they're staring at 0-4 at home, and they'll be what? 2.5 games out of first in the division. Well, 3, I guess, because the Rams would be up there, and of course, got Seattle at 5-0. So this is San Francisco's season right here this week. I think they'll show up, and we're getting a buy low point on a home dog here to boot.
That is fair. Carl Chaffers is the head ref in this for this game. He has called 20 holding penalties in 4 games, which is among the most in the league. But he has called just 6 pass interference penalties the entire season. Again, 6 PIs in 4 games. To me, that favors the 49ers, because I think the 49ers secondary is so beat up that if they can get away with all these cheap holds and stuff like that on the back end, I think that's going to favor them. But on the flip side, in terms of pass protection, I think the 49ers may really struggle here. And Pro Football Focus, I think, has San Francisco has a -35 matchup disadvantage in terms of pass protection, which is the second worst of the week. Cleveland clearly has the worst, facing that Steelers front 7. But, man, there's a lot of things I easily see San Francisco winning this game, and that's why I feel it's a trap line. On paper, on performance, on numbers, on everything that I look at, it should be a Rams win. But yeah, to your point, must-win game. The reffing crew seems to be siding with 49ers, all this stuff. I don't know. It's probably a game I stay away from and just watch Sunday Night Football for my enjoyment and not have money going. Or I'll play DFS. That'll probably be more likely.
And don't forget to, I mean, It's only week 6, but this legitimately could be the 49ers season here. I mean, if they lose this game, like you said, Seattle is 5-0 right now. The Rams would bump up to 5-1 with a win in this game. The Niners would go down to 2-4, and don't forget the Cardinals already hold a game over San Francisco. So no matter what you think of the Cardinals or what they end up doing the rest of the season, they already beat the 49ers. So I mean, 49ers are in a do or die type spot right here for sure.
Yeah.
I wrote there's a betting preview article up over on FlurrySports.org that I put together for this game. And the Monkey Knife Fight play I had in that one was a matchup-based one. So it was Goff against Garoppolo with Jimmy G catching 30.5 passing yards. Kittle against Kupp with in receptions. Cooper Kupp getting half a reception. And then receiving yards, Robert Woods versus Deebo Samuel, with Samuel catching 5.5 yards. And I, in the article, looking at this, I went with Goff, I went with Kittle, and I went with Robert Woods. Agree, disagree, anywhere?
I definitely like Kittle there. And as far as Deebo Samuel, I don't know what to tell you about him. I need him to be big. I need him to be good for my fantasy sake. But who knows? I mean, we've hardly seen anything from him all season. So I don't know what to tell you there about Deebo Samuel.
The only one of those that scares me is Kittle versus Kupp. Kupp has one of the best matchups of the entire week, facing Jamar Taylor, the slot corner in San Francisco. But we've seen Kupp mostly thrive when Jared Goff is under pressure and he has to target that short route. So if the San Francisco, pass rush is as bad as I believe, then maybe he has more time to look deep to Roberts, to some of these other field stretchers and stuff like that. So I don't know. That one's a toss-up. It really just depends on how the game script plays out, to be completely honest. But yeah, I don't have a strong lean either way, unfortunately. If you could play 2 on that contest, that would have been great. But maybe you can hedge a little bit with another prop contest on Monkey Knife Fight, since there's so many good contests.
Obviously, Jared Goff played more than Jimmy Garoppolo this season, but he also has almost 1,000 more passing yards. So Jared Goff is slinging the ball around this year.
The 49ers are going to try to establish they run. They have to, especially with how Jimmy G looked last week. If Jimmy G comes out and lays an egg again, do you think they actually switched C.J. Beathard? Because I think it's a legitimate possibility at this point. I'm not a Jimmy G believer anyway, so I'm biased, but Beathard looks more comfortable at the very least in there.
And you can get Beathard some, a lot of quality playing time if you want him as your long-term backup. If you want to keep him in the system, keep him around. And I mean, if your season's lost and Jimmy G's out there not looking the best on a week-to-week basis, whether you believe in him long-term and you're going to keep him around, or you want to eventually try and trade him or whatever, I think getting him off the field in that situation probably your best bet, because you're going to avoid injury, you're going to avoid him further damaging his value if he goes out there and just plays like he just stinks it up. And they could just play it off as we're protecting our $100 and whatever $1 million guy. Our season's lost. We want to get C.J. Beathard some quality playing time. I could see them spinning it that way, even if it's not truly the reason that they are moving away from Jimmy. But I don't know. I think we saw what they did last year. I think Jimmy G will be able to figure it out, and I think even more so Kyle Shanahan will be able to figure out a way to make Jimmy look good, or at least good enough. But again, if you're 2-5 or whatever, and you're not going to make the playoffs, no shot at your division. Sure, run your backup out there.
Yeah, I think Jimmy G could mysteriously somehow come down with COVID if he plays bad in this game, and he'll probably get out of there. Let's go to the Monday night game. First one, we have Kansas City Chiefs at the Buffalo Bills. Obviously, Bills on the short week after playing on Tuesday, getting smacked by the Tennessee Titans for a lot of reasons. Bills were at the disadvantage in that game, unfortunately, so I don't think we should take too much away from that game. But right now, Chiefs are It looks like in most places has moved up to 4.5-point favorites on the road. The over/under looks at 57 or 57.5, so pretty high for a Bills game, I guess. My initial lean would be to take Kansas City. I think they'll be able to pass all over the Bills, and we can't really play this team's coming off a loss, because both teams are coming off pretty bad losses. Obviously, Chiefs a little bit worse, just because it was that division rival, and it was the Raiders, which, no matter how good the Raiders are, it feels bad to lose to them every time. It just feels like it was an upset, even if the Raiders are good, because they're just kind of a joke, in my opinion. But I don't know, do you guys like the Chiefs this week to cover the spread, or do you think the Bills bounce back in a major way?
Henry, what do you think about this game?
Give me the Chiefs. Give me the road favorite. I think Kansas City's going to come out guns a-blazing here after that loss last week. And I'm still not sold on Buffalo. I'm sorry. Upstate Western New York. I've been a hater of the Bills my whole life, being a Jets fan. But I can put that aside and look at numbers and look at statistics and look at on-field performance. And Buffalo's got plenty of talent. Defensively, they're just not living up to it right now. The run defense has been atrocious. Other than last week, they kind of bottled up Derrick Henry, but it's also because the Titans didn't really have to use him. And so still, the fact that he was able to rattle off almost like 60 yards and a pair of touchdowns on the ground, it speaks volumes here to this Buffalo defense just struggling. They didn't have Tre'Davious White last week. That was huge, as we saw Josh Norman get steamrolled by Derrick Henry and then have to deal with A.J. Brown the rest of the night, something that did not exactly go in his favor. The Chiefs have been taking the sharp money here on this game, up from 3 as an opening line. There are a few 5s out in the market already, 4.5 kind of bouncing around there. It's a home game for Buffalo. There's no crowd. This defense is underwhelming. Offensive consistency. The Bills also cannot run the football. And the Chiefs' defense, in terms of points allowed, I'm pretty sure they rank 7th in the NFL. I think Steve Spagnuolo is an underrated defensive coordinator. I think he'll be able to dial up some looks to confuse Josh Allen, who for the first time all season, really, last week, looked vulnerable in that game. That one interception was horrible. There's another preview article for this game that'll be up on FlurrySports.org, so you can check out more of my thoughts on it there. But I like Kansas City a lot here, and I'm inclined to go with the road favorite.
Especially off a loss, right? I think Kansas City, one of those teams right now that they just aren't going to lose 2 games in a row. And whether you think they're going to cover the spread or not is a different question than winning or losing the game. I understand, but 4.5 points is not all that. It's not all that many for this Chiefs team. They've won 3 out of their 4 victories this year have come by 14 points or more. It was 14, 14, and 16. The other one was an even field goal victory. But they're not exactly pounding teams, but they are holding them to about 20 points defensively, and they are doing, obviously, enough to win by multiple touchdowns on the offensive side of the ball. I don't see them struggling. Not that they even struggled all that much. I mean, they did for, at times against the Raiders, but it was a pretty close game throughout. They still were able to score. They scored 32 points. The Raiders just figured them out defensively. I think it'll be a close game. I think I like the Bills a little bit more than you do. I mean, they're still 4-1, but they have had some close contests themselves this year against worse teams than I guess against worse teams than the Raiders. I mean, the Raiders aren't great, but you got to lose a game once in a while. Kansas City lost last week. I don't see them losing again this week. 4.5 points, not all that money. Depending on your bookie, you might be able to buy a point for relatively cheap. I'm not quite sure. I don't have anything pulled up here, but if you can buy that point and still get minus 120 or better, I might like KC more around a field goal. But again, Patrick Mahomes off of a loss, especially a loss to the Raiders last week. I think they're going to come out sharp, and I think they're going to win the game, probably cover the spread. But the Bills can afford to lose this game as well. Bills will still only be 4-2. Obviously the best team in their division. Bills will be fine after this.
Yeah, I don't want to make it seem like I don't think the Bills can be very good. It's just something's not clicking, and you wouldn't have expected it to be on the defensive side of the ball. I think coming into the year, at least I wouldn't have. They do get Zach Moss back this week, so we'll see how that kind of shifts the dynamic there in that the Buffalo backfield a little bit. But yeah, I strongly side with Kansas City here, and I'm just gonna. I think in this one, put it as I'm gonna dare Buffalo to beat me. If they beat me, kudos to them, and that'll be probably a good sign for them going forward. Because they'll have to play an A game for sure.
In terms of injury report, Sammy Watkins out for the Chiefs. Obviously, Kelechi Osemele had injury last week, possibly a career ender. He was the Chiefs' run blocker on the inside. He is done for the season. In terms of the Bills, Dawson Knox, tight end, is out. Tre'Davious White looks fully ready to be back. John Brown, I think, is a true game-time decision, but I would guess he plays. Limited Saturday, but he was full on Friday, so I'm guessing he goes. This game comes down, to me, is if Josh Allen can learn to adjust, because we've seen him get better as a player through his 3 years in the NFL, but he still doesn't know how to adjust to the game. We saw that last week. If you take away the short option, he really struggles. He still doesn't know how to work through a progression. It was even tougher because he didn't have John Brown in there, so he doesn't have wide receivers that can work back to him and learn how to do that. But Josh Allen really struggles against defensive coordinators that can show him different looks. And the Kansas City defense is pretty good personnel-wise, but I believe Spagnuolo is the defensive coordinator there, if I'm not mistaken. He's a good defensive line. He will throw different looks at you. And on top of that, Tyrann Mathieu is one of the best at throwing different looks at you. He's going to line up everywhere. He's almost a Troy Polamalu-like player on the back end. And that's a player that I think Josh Allen really will struggle with. So I think this line in terms of over-under is pretty accurate. I think both defenses could struggle in this game, but I expect Josh Allen to make more mistakes than Patrick Mahomes. So that's why.
Oh yeah. And I think that's inevitable. I mean, mistakes or just trying to make too hard to make something happen is what we've seen out of Josh Allen a lot. And even when Patrick Mahomes tries really hard to make something happen, it usually goes his way, it seems like. So, of course, mistakes are going to be a big factor here, and Josh Allen is more prone to them. I just looked on the bookie that I use, and you actually are going to have to give up quite a lot if you want to tease this game down a full point or even a point and a half to get to that -3. Just to buy that full point, you'd have to lay 140. So I don't think it's worth it here in this spot. I think if you're going to roll with the spread, just roll with the line that's been given to you, which is -4.5.
Yeah, and Zach echoed my points. My feelings on this game almost perfectly there, saying that the Chiefs defense should be able to throw some different looks at Josh Allen. It's going to be on him to adjust. I'm a big Spagnuolo fan. I've been a big fan of Spags for a while. And the last point I'll just make that I see potentially being a problem for Buffalo in this spot is even if Tre'Davious White is back, which it's all indications it's looking like he will be, who else is covering all these weapons? So Trey White's going to go up against Tyreek Hill, who is still probably going to get he'll get his in that matchup here and there. Mecole Hardman, this could be a great spot to fire him up. The Bills just do not have the cornerback talent. Josh Norman, I thought that was one of the most clever signings of the offseason, but it's clearly not working out. And so Mahomes is just going to pick him apart. That's really how I see this playing out.
The Chiefs are weird for personnel-wise when they have Sammy Watkins out of the lineup, because obviously if you think of the next wide receiver to come up, I guess maybe it's Demarcus Robinson there. But Mecole Hardman's going to see more looks. Looking at Pro Football Focus, they have him lined up as the right outside receiver, but he's more of a slot player. He's run about 60% of his snaps in the slot this season. On top of that, Tyreek Hill's a slot player. He's ran about 57% of his routes out of the slot this season. Tre'Davious White's not going to go to the slot. So if Andy Reid wants to create the best mismatch, maybe they do run Hardman on the outside and just use him as a decoy, I guess, essentially, and have Tre'Davious White cover him. And then you're left with Taron Johnson on Tyreek Hill, which is, good night, have fun.
Good luck.
Let's finish up strong here with the Arizona Cardinals going to Jerry World to take on the Dallas Cowboys. The line I see right now is the Cowboys 1-point home underdogs, so nothing too crazy in terms of the Lions. Pretty much a pick 'em, 54.5 or 55.5, depending on where you can get it. So fairly high scoring game, but also a line that's somewhat in no man's land, I would say. I've been fairly vocal this week, I guess, by saying I don't think Andy Reid's that much of a step down from Dak Prescott. No worries. You guys don't need to argue with me. I've had plenty of other people already do it. I don't think it's a downgrade. If Dak Prescott's 0 to 100,
I mean, it's a downgrade. Now, you can argue how big of a downgrade, but it's a downgrade. Like, come on.
In terms of what, though? Because mentally, I don't think it's a downgrade at all. I think physical talent, I think it's a downgrade. But in terms of
for sure, yeah, that's for sure. I mean, and Dak's legs, Dak's
Dak doesn't
ability. He can make things happen with his legs.
Like what?
Not like Dalton can.
That's about it.
Is
that too soon?
No comeback for that.
Whatever.
No, it's not too soon. I'm saying, you got me. You got me good.
If he's a downgrade, and I think we'll see how. This is my concern with Andy Dalton, at least in this spot. Which, by the way, terrible Cardinals defense, no Chandler Jones, which massive downgrade. So if Andy Dalton struggles, Andy's going to get slaughtered across the industry this week. My worry is obviously limited practice time coming into the season with a new head coach, new system. So I would assume Andy Dalton got little to no snaps with starters with anything, right? Because we're trying to catch Dak Prescott up with this new system, new everything else. So really, Andy Dalton may be trying to play huge catch-up this week. Because I would just assume he is fairly inexperienced with this offense, with everything else. So it may just be him relying on instinct this week, and I don't know how much I trust him with that. But even still, I don't know. I feel dirty, but I think the Cowboys can win this game. I just don't think the Cardinals are very good. And while the Cowboys defense very clearly is horrendous, I think they're better than the Arizona defense. Jake, what's your thoughts? If you side with Arizona on the 1 week I picked the fucking Cowboys, I'm going to be so soft.
Oh, at minus 1.5, again, it's kind of a no man's land type line. I was leaning Arizona just because I don't know what we're going to get out of Andy Dalton. I don't know who's going to suffer the most with as far as production with Andy Dalton in the backfield. So I was just going to lay off the Cowboys this week and not necessarily even ride with the Cardinals, but it's not like I'm like pumping up the Cowboys this week because I think they're going to win like I have in previous weeks. It's a tough game for me. And since it is the later game on a doubleheader on Monday, I honestly think I might just look to live bet this game, wait for one team to maybe get down early, grab the opposing team's spread because I do think it's going to be a close game. There's a couple different ways you could go about live betting this game, so I think that might be what I do because I really don't. It's a tough game to predict for me, especially on the Cowboys side. Like you said, Arizona's defense is bad, and I think Zeke is going to be able to get his. It's not like Andy Dalton can't pass the ball, right? I mean, we've seen him fling it over his career. He's got an arm. But what's his connection with the receivers going to be like? Are we going to see Schultz and Cooper not really get any looks again this week? There's things like that where I'm just not quite sold on these Andy Dalton Cowboys. So I'll probably be watching this. I mean, I know I'll be watching this game. Probably be looking to live bet it. Maybe early on, and then if it doesn't seem like my live bet early in the game is going to go my way, then I'll probably do something in the second half. I haven't been live betting a ton this year just because I've had so many bets going before the game start. But I think this is a great live bet opportunity here.
In terms of line movement, game actually opened Dallas favored by 3. So obviously getting bet through 0. Heavy sharp action on the Cardinals there. Understandably so when you have a figurehead quarterback go down. I'm with you though, Zach. I really don't know how big of a downgrade it is. I think Andy Dalton can come in here with the weapons they have and figure it out. It might not be this week, but it certainly is an intriguing matchup for him to do so. And I had one of the articles I wrote this week was buy low on Amari Cooper. Somebody like that now? Are you kidding? If an owner's freaking out in fantasy football, just because Prescott's out of there, I will take the heavy target share that Cooper generates on a weekly basis any day. If you're going to give it to me at a discount. Chandler Jones being out, that was the one. That was my major point, I guess, on this game, and you already touched on it. That's significant. A bad defense gets worse. I really don't have a play here either way on either side. This is going to be one that I'm pretty much just watching. Given where the line is at, it's essentially a pick. And I don't really have a strong lean to pick because I'd love to back Dallas in this spot, figuring it's a buy low point. But I'm not backing that defense. I'm sorry. I can't do it. They are terrible. I know we've already kind of gone on the record saying that Arizona is maybe overrated offensively. Kyler Murray, for me, especially overrated. The play calling there, suspect. But this week, they could easily go out and drop 35, and I wouldn't blink. So I got nothing here. The total 55, a couple 54.5s out in Vegas. I don't even like that. I can't say to bet that over. I can't say to bet that under. It's a stay away. It's a straight up stay away.
I got a stat for you guys. Talking Dak versus Andy Dalton. Now, obviously, at least for me, when I say Dak's legs, I'm talking about more than just straight up rushing. His ability, what he can do in the pocket to escape the pocket, roll out, bootleg, all that kind of stuff. That is all incorporated. However, if you just want to talk about straight up rushing, just make it simple as can be. In 135 career games, Andy Dalton has 1,221 yards for 22 touchdowns. Okay, in 135 games. Dak Prescott in 69 games has 1,314 rush yards for 24 touchdowns. In half the amount of games, literally half the amount of games, he's got 100 extra yards on the ground and 2 extra touchdowns. So clearly there is a difference in running ability and using his legs. Difference. I mean, there's a difference. You can't argue that. 135 games versus 69 games, and Dak has better stats in both categories.
I guess I'd want to see time of protection, like time until the rush got there for those, because Andy Dalton notoriously hasn't had very good offensive lines, and Dak can pretty much, no one's getting open, he tucks it and goes.
But in twice as many games, like we're not talking 69 games versus 90 games, like 69 versus 135.
We're talking about 2 quarterbacks that aren't running quarterbacks. So if one quarterback runs for a 20-yard rush because everyone ran downfield and no one got open, he can get untouched for 10 yards. Like, it's pretty easy to double up the other quarterback.
Right, which would make him that much more effective, and means his legs are that much better.
He's behind the offensive line now, I'm saying.
Well, I understand that, but
also look at who he's playing.
What are Dak's numbers? Okay, so what are Dak's numbers going to be when he hits 135 games? They're going to blow Andy Dalton out of the water. Yes, exactly. So there is a difference. He can use his legs. He does use his legs.
Yeah, by on the ground to try to get his fucking ankle back in place, and it pops back out. That's all he like. It's the same argument. He plays against the NFC East. They don't have a pass rush, so he can sit back there. Oh, the wide receivers didn't get open, then he scrambles. It's the same thing as Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, amazing mobile quarterback, right? No, it's because he can move the pocket and then he just scrambles because the offensive line's good. Andy Dalton's behind that offensive line now. Now he's playing against these crappy opponents. He's not going to go out there and beat Joe Flacco and run over everybody, but I think he's going to be, good enough.
But he's had a dozen years to build up these stats, and he's still he's where Dak is 4 years into his career, same exact spot.
You're not arguing the same point. Let me talk about how bad Kyler Murray here is for a second. Worst quarterback in the entire league under pressure. 204 dropbacks, 50 pressures, has a 24.2 quarterback rating, 41.7% completion rate, 3 interceptions. The thing with Kyler Murray is with this game, everyone knows what to do against him. You have to contain him. The problem is actually containing him. If they can somehow, bring pressure and contain him, which I think that's the one thing Dallas can somewhat do is bring pressure. They clearly can't cover. They clearly can't do much of anything, but they did invest in pass rushers. So I think they will force Kyler Murray into mistakes. Meanwhile, Dallas's offensive line right now is beat up and not that great. But I don't see where pressure is going to come from Arizona's defense now with Chandler Jones not there. So if Andy Dalton does get to just sit back there and pick apart the defense, someone's going to come open. There's too much talent at wide receiver, and he's going to find people open. In terms of who benefits with Andy Dalton versus Dak Prescott, I think Andy Dalton just spreads the ball out a little bit more. So if we looked at the numbers, I think Michael Gallup gets more targets just because Michael Gallup's usually the third or fourth option on the play, and we already saw Andy Dalton work through a progression at the end of that game. CeeDee Lamb, as good as he is, he's been clearly the best receiver so far on Dallas. I just think his targets go down, unfortunately. But again, it's probably game plan specific as well. In terms of in this game, I would assume Mike McCarthy runs the ball a lot early and then completely abandons it, and then Andy Dalton has to play hero, and either he'll do it or not. Like, that's what this game's going to be, I think. So have your fun picking. I think Jake's idea to live bet it is probably the best option to go, especially in terms of game total. Because, yeah, I don't want to touch this game total where it is right now, but I think I would be willing to bet it after I see what Dallas's defensive front looks like in terms of
if you ultimately believe that the Cowboys are going to win this game, you like the Cowboys in this game, I really highly doubt they're going to come out and score on their first possession, probably not even their first two possessions. Like I think it's going to take Andy Dalton at least a rep or two. I mean, he had last week, but I just don't think that they come out. They've already struggled so much early on in games, even with Dak. So, I mean, if Arizona comes out and looks like they're driving the ball on them, puts up 3 points or whatever, if you already like the Cowboys, you might as well just wait. You can get an extra few points. You might be able to get the Cowboys plus 3.5, plus 4, somewhere in that range, depending on what happens through the first quarter or whatever. So if you like the Cowboys, I would kind of encourage you to just wait. And you know what? If they come out and they start lighting it up and Andy Dalton does score right away, then, I guess you missed the boat. You missed the opportunity on that one. But I don't think that's what's going to happen. They've struggled in the first quarter all season long. Before Andy Dalton hit the field, I think you're going to be able to get, if you live bet it, I think you're going to be able to get a more favorable line for the Cowboys if you already like them. So, yeah.
I completely agree. And I would assume Dallas leans on the run early, like I was saying before. Maybe it's successful, maybe it's not. I don't know. But
even if you only get another 1.5 and you end up with a plus 3, that's way better than 1.5.
Looking at offensive line versus defensive line matchups, obviously Dallas has a massive pass protection benefit, and they can exploit that. They have a disadvantage slightly in the run defense. Looking at Arizona's offensive line, I knew they were bad, but they have a 19% disadvantage in pass protection, 30% in run blocking, rather. What is this, sack percentage here? I don't know. I just think Arizona's defensive line is so bad, and it's not a tough concept to stop the Arizona Cardinals. It's just actually doing it because Kyler Murray's so fucking quick. But you have to bring extra blockers and just hope he forces a mistake because clearly he's not going to stay in the pocket. He's going to bolt immediately. So they have to predict which side he's going to go to, and I don't know. It seems like a nice game, but
I love watching him skirt across the field. Like he has so many guys within like fingertips length of him, and he's just like whoop whoop. Like it's crazy.
I don't know how.
I love watching that guy run.
This is a weird comparison to make, but I think it's accurate. It just popped in my head. He reminds me of Jamal Charles, like running with the football more than anybody else. He's so damn quick and so shifty. He looks like Jamal Charles. He probably passes like Jamal Charles too, but he cannot be touched. I would love to see how many yards before like touch he gets, kind of thing. Like within, there's no advanced analytic for this, but like with defenders within a certain range and just being unable to bring him down, it's, to your point, it's ridiculous. He weaves through traffic better than anyone I've seen in a while. So that is the full NFL slate. If you guys had to pick one pick that is listed, no tease, what's your top pick of the week? Henry, you can go first. I can go first.
Put me on the spot. Yeah, you go first. I got a couple that I'm like,
I got one too.
So. You know?
Jake, you can go then.
I'm just gonna ride with my fandom and say the Packers straight up -1 money line, whatever you want to take. I like the Packers. I think that they're going to be able to pull out this victory. But if you want me to go outside of my favorite team, it's not a game that I talked about with you guys. I'm sure you had plenty to say about it, but I like the Steelers -3.5 against the Browns. The Browns have been flying high, but they always have tough matchups against the Steelers. Steelers have been playing really good football. I think that they take their little brother in Cleveland and put him in their place this week.
Henry and I were talking about a prop for this game, and I'd like to know your take on it. In terms of live camera time on Mason Rudolph on the sideline for this game. I'll set it, Henry. I'll go in the middle of what we said. So live camera time of 7.5 seconds. Do you think he's going to go over or under that?
Oh, I definitely think over, because I think they'll show him and they'll tell the whole they'll break down the whole whatever thing. I think they'll go to him and then they'll go show the clip of what happened with Myles Garrett, and then they'll come back to Mason Rudolph after that. And then if you can get one more one-off type shot, I definitely think over 7 seconds.
Yeah, we agreed too. I said they're going to pan to him and he's going to be like rubbing his head on the bench, like as if he's still concussed or something.
You know how the NFL does that though, where they'll be telling a story, then they go, show the game for a second, and then they go back to that player that they were talking about again. I definitely see that coming.
So for my best bet, I feel dirty doing it, but I would go Vikings -4.5 against the Falcons for all the points I made earlier. And then the one point I didn't make earlier is the whole coaching switch. This is a different situation than Bill O'Brien. The team actually liked Dan Quinn, so it's not really a rallying moment. On top of that, they're switching head coaches, and then they can't come into the building and practice because of that COVID scare. So there's just so much going on, and then they have to travel, I believe, right? Or are the Vikings on the road? I might be wrong with that. Vikings might be on the road.
But Vikings are at home, I believe.
Okay, so even better. So now they're traveling, and they didn't get to practice the full week, and they have a coaching switch, and Atlanta's not very good. And we talked about Tack being out for the pass rush. I like the Vikings pretty easily in one. What about you, Henry?
Spread, I'm going to lay the 3 with the Lions against Jacksonville. Total, though, I think I might like this one better. Under 46.5, 46, Bengals Colts.
That's a good one.
And then if you want one more best bet, Eric Jones. Eric Jones plus 100, even money to finish top 10 in tomorrow's Hollywood Casino 400. A little NASCAR playoff action at Kansas Speedway.
I like that.
Eric Jones plus 100. He's fighting for his job. He's going to be in there. And Andy's got good numbers at Kansas. So
I can already see the bad beat for Henry's best bet on Monday. Phillip Rivers in the fourth quarter throws a pick 6, runs it back over it. I'm waiting for it. But we went a lot longer than I thought here. Let's get off. Hit us up on Twitter. You can see our handles on the bottom of the screen. Hit us up for any picks, any advice, any of that. You can buy Jake and my picks on Pick City. Henry's going to get there soon. Henry's got a bunch of previews and picks up on FlurrySports.org right now as well, though. Go there, read what he has to say about some of the games we talked about, as well as all the other content we have on FlurrySports.org. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to subscribe.